Hello, and thanks for being with us today. My name is Beverly Abel, and I'm with the City of Mesquite Economic Development Department. We've been working hard putting together resources for business owners in light of current events, and we're putting the information together in what we're calling the Roadmap to Resources. Joining me today is an expert who can shed light on assistance for businesses and in particular, the Paycheck Protection Program. Bridget Moon is an Economic Development Specialist and Veterans Business Development Officer for the Dallas-Fort Worth District Office of the Small Business Administration. Welcome, Bridget.
Thank you very much, Beverly, for having me.
All of us are hearing so much about the PPP, and there is so much to digest and understand. So I'd like to visit with you about the particulars of that program, but then also some other assistance that SBA may be able to lend. So let's just get into the details. So what is the PPP and what is the SBA's role with it?
Yeah, absolutely. SBA has several programs that are out there. We want to direct people first and foremost to our SBA website, which is going to be sba.gov/coronavirus. And that keeps everybody up to date on the latest programs, any changes, updates. We also want to direct people to our district Twitter page, which is going to be at SBA DFW. We are constantly giving updated links, things like that for people to tap into on their daily commutes or at their job. We want them to be able to get that information readily available. So we definitely want to do that. They can also sign up for our district emails, which is going to be sba.gov/tx/Dallas. And there you can sign up for emails that we're constantly giving information on, sometimes daily. So we want to make sure people get that information. The PPP is, of course, referred as the Paycheck Protection Program out there, and it is being administered through your local lenders. There is a list that they can go to, which is at the sba.gov/paycheck protection to find a local lender in their area, and you'll put a zip code in. And so that way it'll bring up a list of those lenders that are doing them. If they're having trouble finding the lender in their area, they can contact our district office and we'll try to get them set up with a connection with the lender because maybe their current lender isn't doing them. We encourage whoever they bank with to check with them first and then go outside of that if they're not having any luck with their current lender that's doing those programs. They will make contact with that lender, and the lender's either going to let them know verbally or by an email a list of items that they're going to need, including the application. And so they just need to be aware that there is some things that they're going to have to provide, and that's something they'll have to contact with the bank on. But those loans can be forgiven. So that's the exciting part of it. It is made for the payroll. Up to at least 75% of their loan has to be designated as a payroll. The other 25% can be used for certain mortgage interest, rent, utilities, besides the payroll. So those are things that they can discuss with their lender on those other expenses that they have. Now that program, there is a deadline. So we encourage everyone to definitely get in as soon as possible. That deadline is June 30th of 2020. So they want to come in. It is a first come, first serve program at this point. So we want to make sure they get in. It is at a 1% interest rate if the portion that's not forgiven is at a 1% with 2 years with a 6-month deferment for their first payment. So that gives them a little leadway to get back on their feet before they have to start making a payment as well, and on the portion that's not forgiven. And those loans can go up to $10 million.
That is great information. There is a lot to know. Once you start reading all the information in the articles and stuff, you can get a little overwhelmed. What are some of the FAQs that people are asking? What are the most asked questions you're getting?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest one is, can they apply for multiple programs? When they go to that SBA.gov coronavirus site, they're going to see 4 different types of programs out there that are concerning this pandemic that we're facing. And so the first one you're gonna see there is, of course, the PPP, and then there's another one called EIDL, which stands for Economic Injury Disaster Loan. There is a possible $10,000 forgivable portion of that loan, as well as to extend that by requesting a further increase for further needs to keep that business going. And that loan can go up to $2 million with a possible term of 30 years. Now that interest rate, let me just make sure I've got the right interest rate, for businesses at a 3.75%. Now if you're a nonprofit, it'll lower it 2.75. So that's another program businesses can definitely apply for. And we encourage to apply for both of them to see whether it's a good fit. Now they might determine that it's not a good fit as a one program, but they need to go ahead and see and then get that information.
And I did notice when I was researching these programs, they're all on the SBA website, and you can click on icons for all four to get a little more detail on them.
Yeah, absolutely. That website I gave earlier, that sba.gov/coronavirus, will list right there those four programs. The other two do include what they call SBA debt relief, and we can talk about that a little later, as well as the SBA Express bridge loan program that's out there.
Great. So let's say I'm a Mesquite business owner and I want to get started with this process. Do I start with you? Do I start with my existing banker? Do I seek out a different bank? How does this work?
Okay. The first and foremost, I would contact who they bank with. Okay. Let's get the PPP portion, if they think that's a good fit for their business, to go ahead and try to get connected with that bank so you can get that process started. Now, the next part, after that process and that connection is made, I would definitely get on to the EIDL. When they go to that SBA.gov coronavirus, there is, when they click on the EIDL, and there's a link on there that says to apply. So you want to apply. And it's a very simplified process application. So prior, during disasters, that application process was a little longer. So they definitely have simplified it for this to get a little bit more immediate needs out there. We're hoping that the assistance is coming very soon as these more businesses are applying every day.
I'm getting a lot of questions about people saying, well, do I have to have a pre-existing relationship with the SBA to be able to apply now?
No, absolutely not. They can, as long as they've been an existing business. I think before February, and so new businesses can apply too. So you don't have to have a relationship with the SBA. You don't have to have a relationship with the bank that you're going to apply for the PPP. Now we do understand. There has been some banks says that they're servicing their current customers first before they go out. So you might get some feedback that says, well, we're servicing our customers first and then we're going to look outside. So if you're hitting a point with some of the lenders in the area that are not being able to help you out with the PP, that's when they want to contact the district office and let's try to get them connected, because we do have some lenders out there that are working with people outside of their customer base.
So let's say I do have my banker that I have a relationship with and I want to apply, and let's say it's the PPP. What kind of documentation, what kind of files do I need to have in hand so I'm prepared and ready to apply when I visit with them?
Absolutely. Now that can vary from bank to bank. There is some standard forms, obviously. And the bank's going to give you that connection with the application. They'll send that to you. They'll send you any additional forms with a little list. Since it's relevant to the payroll, obviously there's going to be documentation to show that you had a payroll. So whether that's the 941 forms, or if you had some other kind of a company that prepared your payroll for you, there has to be something to document that you have some payroll. So be prepared for those documents, get those ready. But I would first and foremost, before you spin your wheels and kind of speculate what those documents may be, contact that bank, get connected. They're going to email or converse verbally with you on that list.
I'm guessing there's not a standard period of time that if you apply at time X, you will hear back at time Why? It kind of varies with the bank, I'm guessing.
Well, it varies from bank as far as what they're receiving as far as applications. Same thing with the EIDL loan through SBA that's done directly through SBA. It is hard to say. I know that they're working, around the clock to get as many applications processed as they can. We do have a 24-hour, 7-day-week customer service line, and that number is 1-800-659-2955. So we encourage to reach out, because when you apply, you'll be given a file number that you need to hold on to, because that's your reference to every time you call in to whether it's customer service or whether it's to the bank.
Gotcha. And I picked up on something you said earlier, that even if you're a new business, haven't even been in business for a year, but if you've been in business as of when, could you go ahead and still apply for PPP?
Yes, we have quite a few people asking about that. Like, well, I've been told I can't, I'm new. Absolutely not. You can apply if the criteria and eligibility meet. There is eligibility requirements. If you've been in that less than a year, they're going to look at, where's your business plan, or have you had any financial statements that you can provide, just to show what that business has been doing or where they're at. And that's going to be really relevant to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. If you're less than, a fairly new business, and when you're talking under the PPP, you'll talk with the SBA lender that is you're working with to make that determination of what documents.
And I heard you say earlier that the deadline, as we're filming this, is June 30th for application. I'm guessing you would not recommend waiting until June 30th to apply.
Yeah, I had a lot of people say, well, I want to wait until, the disaster dies down a little bit. And the problem I've seen in the many years I've been helping businesses is they wait too long, and then they're in that desperate mode, is what I want to say, or it's too late mode. Because the fact that they waited so long, and it does take time to process. So whether you've waited, and you think you're going to get through the system a little faster, I would get in line right away. And that way we can make sure that you can get that assistance when you need it. If you are approved for a loan and you're like, well, right now I don't really need it, but I want to, especially on the EIDL, I want to be able to make sure I can get those funds if I need it. You can always put it on hold. Okay, so that's an option for out there. I would just encourage, if you think there's a possibility that you're going to have some injury out of this, we want to make sure you apply. The biggest caveat that people need to understand with this, the EIDL portion of the disaster assistance, is that it's not to replace lost profits. A lot of times I get that. Well, what about, the money I would have made at the end? That's not what it's intended for. It's intended to keep you afloat, keep you in business, keep those accounts payable current, keep those, employees employed in this case, give you working capital to work with. I had somebody that was in the beauty business. And here's an example. She says, look, I sold all my product just to keep afloat to date, but now I have no more product to sell. That's where that Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program is going to come into play, because we can look at replacing that inventory, give her working capital to operate. And that's what's important, to keep those businesses alive and functioning, and be ready for when we do return to a normalcy.
So we've talked about PPP and we've talked about the EIDL, but there are two other programs that people could get engaged with. One is the SBA Express Bridge Loan Program. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
The businesses have to have a current relationship with their express lender. And what that will entail for them is, if they are in need or been affected by the COVID-19, they can request from their lender that they've already had a relationship with to ask for an additional $25,000. It's an expedited process. The SBA debt relief is for the current and new prior to 9/27/2020 504 microloans, and what it is the SBA for 6 months will pay the principal, interest, and fee for those loans. So that is a huge relief effort on the behalf of SBA. Now, if they're on automatic payment plan, they need to make that contact to get that removed so those payments no longer come out of their checking account. So that will continue to pay. Now, if they have a disaster loan, which is different than those, a disaster loan, as long as it's in regular servicing, as of March 1st of 2020, automatic deferments as well through 12/31 of 2020. But again, those interests will still accrue on those deferments. But if they have an automatic payment set up on those disaster, they will have to pull that off in order to get that deferment if they want to. Now, if they choose to continue making payments, that's fine. Nothing they have to change.
So lots of great information about helping to cope with the crisis that we're dealing with at the time, but also SBA, no matter when, has some amazing services for business owners, for small business owners. I know as the downtown development manager, I'm constantly sending entrepreneurs, whether they've been in business for years or they're just getting started with their dream, we send them to the SBA to develop a business plan. And I'm recommending to people right now, while maybe you're not one of those essential businesses that's not able to open, go to the SBA, see how you can retool. And can you tell us a little bit about what you do for businesses year-round?
Absolutely, and we can't think enough as far as our partnerships with the cities, the chambers, our economic developments, of course, but we also have national resource partners, and a lot of people aren't aware of them because they're free. We have SCORE, which is kind of a one-on-one mentoring that they can get connected. They can also do an online mentorship with them. They go to score.org and they can sign up there. We have our small business development centers, which sometimes they are reflected as called SBDCs. And those are also with counseling, and they also have webinars and programs that people can get connected with. We also have a women's business center in Dallas they can get connected. And that's not just for women, but of course it's kind of catered towards them. And then we also, for our great veterans, we have our Veteran Business Outreach Center, which is at UTA in Arlington at the College of Business. So we encourage out of those 4 resource partners to get the free assistance, get connected, and they can also help address any questions concerning the COVID-19, any of these programs that the 4 that we've mentioned, to assist with the application, preparation of documents. And another thing I brought along with me, and I'll just show you, is our Small Business Resource Guide. And on the Small Business Resource Guide, it's tabbed accordingly to all different kinds of things that is about our partnerships in the blue section. And then we've got our funding section, which also kind of lists our SBA lenders that are part of our PPP that they can go to. This is located at our SBA.gov/TX/Dallas, and underneath our address is a PDF of this whole resource guide that they can access to be able to look at.
If you're an entrepreneur or some brand new entrepreneur or somebody who's been in business for years, I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't tap into the SBA. There is so much there available, and so much is free, and so much is right there resting on that website. Right. And speaking of websites, can you kind of repeat a little bit about how people can get a hold of you, how they can find the SBA and the COVID-19 information online?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing is the SBA.gov/coronavirus. That's where they're going to find all that information on those 4 programs. So that's real important. And then the SBA.gov/TX/Dallas will have our information, address, phone number, our office directory as well for anybody that they need to contact with emails. So they can also email us. We are getting emails and phone calls daily, and so please be patient. We will return them. So we just want to make sure you get the right information and be able to assist. And look, even if they're not, like you were just saying, not affected with the coronavirus, we want to help those small businesses, current small business owners, as well as those that want to be an entrepreneur. We want to make sure that they get connected the right way.
Oh, that's fantastic. Bridget, you have been a wealth of information, and we can tell that you care very much about what you do and the people you serve, and we can't thank you all enough for what you do for our small business all the time. We do appreciate your time. And also, if you missed any of those connections on phone numbers, websites, or anything, I'm happy to tell you that our Economic Development Department has a web page called roadmaptoresources.com, and you're welcome to go there and take a look, and we have links to all kinds of information. We're updating it on a daily basis. You can also send us email at economicdevelopment@cityofmesquite.com, and you can call us at 972-216-6348, and we will be happy to assist you as well. Thank you for being with us today. I hope we helped you out with some helpful and encouraging information, and we appreciate your time.